There is a vitamin C serum on your bathroom shelf right now. Maybe you paid $35 for it. Maybe you paid $90. The label promises brighter skin, fewer dark spots, protection from environmental damage. Here is what the label is not going to tell you. The moment that serum turned orange, and if you have had it for more than a few weeks, there is a good chance it already has, it stopped being a vitamin C serum. It became something worse, not a weaker antioxidant, not a less effective brightener, a pro-oxidant, a compound that generates the exact free radical damage on your skin that vitamin C was supposed to prevent. You have been applying the problem, not the solution. And the brand that sold it to you knows exactly why this happens, and chose the packaging anyway. Today we are exposing 3 vitamin C serums that are selling you instability in beautiful bottles, and revealing the 3 formulas that actually solved the problem the right way. Before we get to the brands, you need to understand one number, 3.5. That is the maximum pH at which L-ascorbic acid, the only form of vitamin C with robust, published clinical evidence for anti-aging, remains biologically active on skin. Above pH 3.5, L-ascorbic acid begins converting to an inactive form. Above pH 4, it is essentially useless. And the moment it contacts oxygen or light at any pH, oxidation begins, turning it from antioxidant to pro-oxidant. 3 pH units, 2 environmental enemies, 1 very small window in which vitamin C actually works. The brands that stay inside that window in packaging that protects it are the ones worth your money. The brands outside it are selling you an expiration date. Let's start with the most expensive. Example. L-ascorbic acid is the gold standard form of vitamin C in skincare, the only form with over 2 decades of peer-reviewed clinical evidence showing measurable photoprotection, collagen stimulation, and melanin inhibition. Every other vitamin C derivative, ascorbyl glucoside, magnesium ascorbyl phosphate, ascorbyl palmitate, is a stabilized alternative that trades some efficacy for better stability. When a brand chooses L-ascorbic acid, they are choosing the most powerful form. They are also choosing the most unstable one. L-ascorbic acid oxidizes in a 2-step process. First contact with oxygen converts it to dehydroascorbic acid, a compound with no antioxidant properties. Further oxidation produces dicotogolonic acid, a pro-oxidant that actively generates free radicals. This is not a gradual loss of efficacy. This is a transformation into a harmful compound. The orange color you see in an old vitamin C serum is not a cosmetic issue. It is a chemical indicator that the serum has completed the first stage of this conversion. The brown color that follows means the second stage is underway. Light accelerates this process dramatically. UV radiation breaks the molecular bonds in L-ascorbic acid faster than oxygen alone can. A vitamin C serum in a clear glass bottle sitting in a sunny bathroom can complete the first oxidation stage within 2 to 4 weeks of opening. The same formula in opaque, UV-blocking, airless packaging can maintain over 90% potency for 3 to 4 months. The packaging does not just affect the serum's shelf life. It determines whether the serum is an antioxidant or its opposite. And that decision is made by the brand, not by you. Drunk Elephant C Firma Fresh Day Serum is one of the most commercially successful vitamin C serums ever sold. At $75 for less than an ounce at Sephora, it commands a price point that places it firmly in the prestige category. The brand markets it as containing 15% L-ascorbic acid, an attention-grabbing concentration that sounds clinical and serious. And L-ascorbic acid at 15% is genuinely a meaningful dose. If it is stable, if it is properly pH balanced, and if it arrives at your skin intact. 3 very large ifs for a serum in clear glass packaging with a dropper applicator. Let's start with the concentration claim. 15% L-ascorbic acid sits at the high end of what dermatologists consider both effective and tolerable. Studies show that concentrations above 20% produce no additional benefit over 15–20%, while dramatically increasing irritation risk. So 15% is a defensible, clinically relevant number. Dr. Anita Patel has noted that a 15% serum can be effective if formulated correctly, but that most consumers will experience irritation, especially on sensitive skin. The concentration is the beginning of the story, not the end of it. The packaging is where the story falls apart. Clear glass dropper bottle, the same mechanism we discussed in our retinol packaging video, but with an active ingredient that is even more sensitive to light and oxygen than retinol. Every time the dropper is used, oxygen is drawn into the bottle. Every hour the clear glass bottle sits on a bathroom shelf, UV radiation is hitting the L-ascorbic acid inside. At 15% concentration, the brand is starting with a large reserve of active ingredient. But in clear glass packaging, That reserve is being drawn down continuously from the moment of first opening, drunk. Elephant's acquisition by Shiseido for $845 million in 2019 brought the brand into a company with world-class formulation science and packaging engineering. Shiseido manufactures vitamin C products in properly stabilized packaging under other brand names. The choice to keep C Firma in clear glass post-acquisition is a brand identity decision. The amber gold color of the serum in the clear bottle is part of the product's visual identity. The chemistry of what happens to that amber gold color over time is not something the brand's marketing chooses to discuss. When your C Firma turns orange, Drunk Elephant's answer is that the fresh in the name signals you should use it quickly. Using it quickly is the workaround for packaging that cannot protect it long-term. That is not a formulation solution. That is an instruction to race the degradation clock you paid $75 to start. Ole Henriksen Truth. Serum presents a different category of vitamin C failure, one that is less visible than an orange-colored serum, but potentially more widespread in its impact on consumers. The product markets itself around collagen-boosting vitamin C with a formula that includes orange and lemon extracts alongside its vitamin C content. It is positioned as a brightening, firming serum with a fresh citrus identity. At around $50, it sits in the accessible premium tier, and it contains ascorbic acid. But the critical question the brand never clearly answers is what pH that ascorbic acid is formulated at. pH is not a detail. For vitamin C, pH is everything. L-ascorbic acid must be formulated at a pH between 2.5 and 3.5 to remain biologically active and to penetrate the skin's outer layer effectively. Above pH 3.5, the molecule's ionization state changes, reducing skin absorption dramatically. Above pH 4.0, the clinical evidence for efficacy essentially disappears. The Truth Serum's formula includes ingredients, notably the orange and lemon extracts, and the overall sensory profile of the product, that suggest a formulation targeted at skin compatibility rather than vitamin C optimization. A pH comfortable enough for daily use by most skin types is almost always too high for maximum L-ascorbic acid efficacy. Ole Henriksen does not publish the pH of Truth Serum. This is not an oversight. pH disclosure for vitamin C serums is the single most important piece of information a brand can provide to allow consumers to evaluate efficacy. When a brand does not disclose it, the consumer cannot verify whether the vitamin C in the formula is operating in its active window or sitting above it in an ineffective ionization state. At $50, you deserve to know whether the vitamin C you are buying is at the pH where it works. The citrus extract additions compound the problem. Orange and lemon extracts contain flavonoids and other botanical compounds that are pleasant additions to a serum's sensory profile. They do not contribute meaningfully to vitamin C's mechanism of action. And in a formula where pH optimization for L-ascorbic acid is already questionable, adding botanical extracts that push formulation complexity and potentially pH further from the optimal window is a formulation priority problem. The brand chose sensory experience over clinical precision at the consumer's expense. Kiehl's Clearly Corrective Dark Spot Solution has been a bestseller in the brand's lineup for years. Positioned as a targeted brightening treatment with vitamin C as a hero ingredient. At around $55 for 1 ounce, it carries the Kiehl's Premium, a brand built on the identity of apothecary heritage and science-informed formulations. The packaging is clinical white with medical-looking typography. Everything about the visual communication says, "This is serious skincare backed by real science." Then you read the ingredient list carefully. Kiehl's Clearly Corrective uses vitamin C in the form of ascorbyl glucoside, not L-ascorbic acid. Ascorbyl glucoside is a stabilized vitamin C derivative. It does not oxidize as readily as L-ascorbic acid. It does not turn orange in a clear bottle within weeks. It is far more stable, far easier to formulate at skin-friendly pH levels, and far less irritating. These are genuine advantages. Here's the disadvantage. Ascorbyl glucoside must be converted by the skin into L-ascorbic acid before it can perform any of the antioxidant or collagen-stimulating functions that vitamin C is clinically proven to deliver. That conversion process is enzymatic. It depends on specific enzyme activity in the skin. And the conversion efficiency varies significantly between individuals. Some skin converts ascorbyl glucoside efficiently, some does not. The clinical evidence for ascorbyl glucoside producing the same results as L-ascorbic acid at equivalent concentrations does not exist at the same level of depth or replication. This is not a minor formulation distinction. Kiehl's is charging $55 for a vitamin C product positioned alongside L-ascorbic acid serums in the same market conversation, benefiting from the clinical credibility of L-ascorbic acid research without actually using L-ascorbic acid. When a consumer reads vitamin C on a Kiehl's product and associates it with the decades of peer-reviewed research on L-ascorbic acid, that association is the brand's intention. The derivative substitution is not clearly communicated. The conversion dependency is not disclosed. The consumer pays for the vitamin C category and receives a compound whose efficacy depends on a biological conversion process the brand has not tested on their specific skin. Kiehl's is owned by L'Oreal, the same parent company we discussed with Lancôme in the retinol video. L'Oreal's research division has published extensively on vitamin C derivatives and their comparative efficacy. The company knows the difference between L-ascorbic acid and ascorbyl glucoside. The decision to use the less clinically validated derivative while positioning the product in the vitamin C premium market is not a formulation limitation. It is a formulation choice made at the consumer's information expense. Now, the formulas that earned their price because they solved every problem the offenders ignored. SkinCeuticals, CE ferulic, is the standard against which every other vitamin C serum is measured. At $166 per ounce, it is not cheap, and the price is the first thing most people react to. But the justification is unlike anything else in this category. The formula is protected by U.S. Patent 7,179,041, a patent that covers not just the ingredients but the precise pH range and the specific combination ratios that produce stability and efficacy simultaneously. 15% L-ascorbic acid, 1% vitamin E, and 0.5% ferulic acid, stabilized at a pH of 3.0 to 3.5. The ferulic acid does something remarkable. It doubles the photoprotective capacity of the vitamin C and E combination while simultaneously stabilizing the L-ascorbic acid against oxidation. This is not marketing language. It is published chemistry. 12-week clinical trial published in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology showed 24% reduction in photo damage, one of the strongest results ever published for an over-the-counter antioxidant. The packaging is opaque. The pH is disclosed. The patent is public. The clinical trial is published. Dr. James Lee has called CE ferulic one of the few serums with truly robust peer-reviewed data. At $166 an ounce, you are paying for the only vitamin C serum in this category where every single variable has been verified and published. Mad Hippie Vitamin C Serum at $33 represents the value tier done correctly. The formula uses sodium ascorbyl phosphate, a stabilized vitamin C derivative like ascorbyl glucoside, but with a stronger evidence base for skin conversion efficiency. It is combined with vitamin E, ferulic acid, and hyaluronic acid in opaque packaging that protects the formula from the light exposure that destroys L-ascorbic acid. The brand discloses its key ingredient concentrations and does not claim L-ascorbic acid equivalents, an honesty that distinguishes it from brands that market derivatives as if they are the gold standard form. For consumers who cannot tolerate L-ascorbic acid's low pH or who want an affordable, transparent, stable formula, Mad Hippie delivers genuine value without misleading claims. The ordinary ascorbyl glucoside solution, 12% at under $15, closes the survivor list with a lesson in transparency that the entire vitamin C category should study. The ordinary uses ascorbyl glucoside, the same derivative form as Kiehl's, but discloses this clearly, prices it accordingly, and does not position it as equivalent to L-ascorbic acid. The concentration is stated on the label. The limitations of the derivative form are acknowledged in the brand's own ingredient education materials. At $15, consumers know exactly what they are buying and exactly what they can expect from it. That is not a small achievement in an industry built on obscuring the difference between what a product contains and what it can deliver. The Ordinary's contribution to this category is not the most powerful formula. It is the most honest one at its price point. And in the vitamin C market, honesty about what your formula contains and what it can actually do is rarer than the clinical evidence suggests it should be. Here is what you just learned. Drunk Elephant charges $75 for a 15% L-ascorbic acid serum in clear glass with a dropper mechanism that accelerates the oxidation it cannot prevent. Ole Henriksen charges $50 for a vitamin C formula that does not disclose its pH, the single number that determines whether the active ingredient is working at all. Kiehl's charges $55 for a vitamin C derivative that requires enzymatic conversion to become active. while benefiting from the clinical reputation of a form it does not contain. SkinCeuticals solved every one of those problems. The pH, the packaging, the stabilization, the independent clinical data, and published the proof in a peer-reviewed journal. Mad Hippie chose transparency and opaque packaging at a third of the price. The Ordinary chose to disclose exactly what it contains and price it for what it is. The vitamin C serum that is working on your skin is not the one with the best marketing. It is the one where the active form is right, the pH is right, and the packaging kept both of those things alive long enough to reach you. Check the form. Check the pH, check the bottle color. If the brand will not tell you those three things, they already told you everything you need to know. Subscribe for next week. We are exposing the peptide industry's biggest transparency failure, and the numbers are going to make today's video look minor.